Hi, everyone. Welcome to the November Mentor Zoom. And this Mentor Zoom is designed for those mentors working with teachers in their first year in the profession. All right, here is the calendar for November. For this week, you're attending the Mentor Zoom, the live version. Thank you very much for doing that. For the week of November 10th, we're going to be shifting from talking about classroom management to that second expectation for good teaching is positive expectations for students. So for the month of November and December, we are going to be talking about those positive expectations. Remember that that at the beginning of the year, many of your conversations, I'm sure that you're having with your mentee are around classroom management. We're shifting to positive expectations, and then in January, we'll shift to instruction. For the week of November 17th, we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between specific and general praise, talking about that discretional reimbursement form, making sure that your mentee knows where to find that and knows what that looks like, as well as late start and snow procedures, knowing that we're supposed to have this snowstorm. Now is a good time to talk with your mentee about what those late start procedures look like at your site. It looks different at every site. And then the last week is always reviewing the reading. So for this month, for the first days of school, asking that mentees read pages 48 through 80, again, moving from classroom management to positive expectations for students. And then in the critical components book, it's chapter 4, visual strategies. I noticed that we had a couple of other teachers join on. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go pick up that attendance link. I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to get that attendance link. You haven't missed much. If you just logged on, we talked a little bit about what the November calendar is going to look like. We talked about the November reading, and now we're just going to get right into it. What does that week of November 10th look like? So positive expectations go hand in hand with setting clear expectations for everything your mentee does in the classroom. Although it can be tedious, they should be explicit about everything. Being willy-nilly gives kids leverage to question. Going back to procedures provides kids with those positive expectations so they have the roadmap to be successful in the classroom. When we talk about positive expectations, those are routines, having signals. In the special ed classroom, those might be visual signals, proximity to students, positive phrasing, and quiet corrections all play into that positive expectation area. Also know that all students benefit from visual strategies, and SPED students are no different. Everything you want a student to do can't be left to be questioned. It needs to be explicit so kids know what they can do to be successful. We want all teachers, including SPED teachers, to have positive expectations. Silent signals direct students without disrupting instruction and calling out kids. Proximity or circulating the room supports students with staying on task without disrupting instruction and calling out kids. So this is a great week to talk with your mentee about what are some of those positive expectations that they're already using in their classroom. For this week, I do have an activity for you. Now, I know that some of you aren't new to mentoring, so this is your second go around. And so you've already done this activity. Feel free to do it again. If you're not familiar with Flippity, I love a good Flippity. It's a free resource, and it provides lots of ways for students to interact with content online. It's perfect for review or practice at a particular area. And my favorites are manipulatives. So we're going to do a manipulative. And here's what it's going to look like. I'm going to drop a link into the chat. And when you get your link into the chat, it's going to look like this. You're just going to have all these manipulatives that you can move around on the bottom of your screen. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to lift this disinviting tag and the inviting tag to the top. And what you're going to do is you're going to sort each one of these manipulatives into the disinviting column or the inviting column, and they are color coded. And as you're doing that, think about an overarching label for each of the colors. There's a little, and also I already X'd out, but there's a little error message. Don't worry about that error message. You can just click out of it. What that error message is telling me is that Flippities are changing a little bit. So they're not as, there are some restrictions that they're telling me about in the Flippity, but it works perfectly. So let me go ahead and drop the link into the chat, and then you'll just have an opportunity to work through this quick activity, sorting, disinviting and inviting labels into those specific columns. And I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. Maybe about 2 more minutes to sort labels into the inviting and the disinviting categories. Okay, so you've had plenty of time to work through those labels, and hopefully your Flippity turned out to look like what you're looking at the screen right now. The yellow labels were all those body language things that you might do in the classroom. The inviting, the inviting activities or that inviting body language might be smiling, making eye contact with students, using thumbs up, holding the door open for kids. Some of those disinviting body language that could happen in classrooms or sneering, eye rolling, ignoring students, or sighing. The orange labels were things that you might think. Not any of us on the Zoom here, but they could be thoughts that teachers have that would be inviting or disinviting. Some of those might be inviting thoughts would be that making mistakes is okay, and I could learn to do that. And those disinviting thoughts might be, this is pointless. I never know the right answer. Why am I so stupid? I would hope that none of the students have those thoughts. The purple labels are things that inviting and disinviting things that may be said in classrooms. Some inviting things are like, good morning, I always have time for you. What can I do to help? Disinviting things might be, she can't do that. Or what's your excuse this time? So what? And the last labels were pink, and those are the physical environment that could be inviting or disinviting. Those inviting environments would be a clean, organized classroom or showcasing student work. And the disinviting physical environments are like beat up desks and chairs, graffiti, or clutter. So these are some things that you can talk with your mentee about when you think about those inviting and disinviting things that occur in classrooms, which translate into those positive expectations for students. Also, I just wanted to put a plug in for all the mentors that collective efficacy is the belief that teachers can work together to have high expectations for student growth. It's not just a positive mindset, but the belief that teachers are the ones who cause the learning. And collective teacher efficacy is strongly correlated with student achievement with an effect size of 1.57. Good old John Hattie researched this, and he classified it as the #1 way to impact student learning. When you consider 0.40 as the hinge point, collective efficacy has a huge effect on student learning, and it has twice the impact of feedback and 3 times the impact of classroom management. So having that belief that students can do it, and having the belief that a teacher has the capacity to affect student achievement definitely makes a big difference in classrooms. Okay, so moving on to the week of November 17th, we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between specific and general praise. Hopefully you'll have a chance to talk with your mentee about that discretionary reimbursement. So I want to make sure that your mentee knows how the procedure in submitting for that $250 reimbursement, and they need to know that they have to fill that form out in order to get the reimbursement. It doesn't automatically come to them. So I do have a sample of the form as well as the form available on the New Teacher website, and it's also on the Foursquare for this week as well. And like I said earlier, at the beginning of the Zoom, it looks like we're going to have a snowstorm. So this is a good week to talk about what those snow procedures look like at your site. Every site is different, and so do let your mentee know what it looks like. Okay, the difference between general and versus specific praise. General praise is like saying to students, great work or good job or nice, but it doesn't tell the student what they did right. How can they repeat the behavior if they don't know what they did correctly? So it's super important to tell students what they did correctly so they can replicate it. So specific praise definitely has more impact on students, and specific praise can be achieved by calling the student by name, not just saying great work. Call the student by name, praise the behavior that you see or the thing that you want them to replicate, and encouraging them to do it. So like an example of specific praise would be like, Green table, thank you for passing the papers up. I love it when you follow procedures like that. So do talk with your mentee about the difference between general and specific praise, encouraging them to use specific praise if it's a behavior or if it's something that they want them to replicate. Also, I did want to show you this slide. This is a study that was done twice over a period of 50 years. And what it discovered is that teachers unknowingly have differential treatment for students who are low achievers in contrast to high achievers. So low achievers, as evidenced by the research, get praised less frequently. They are called on less often. They get less wait time. They have less eye contact, and they have fewer friendly interactions with the teacher. So I show you this slide and research in the context of positive expectations. All students, regardless of their skill level, should receive expectations for high levels of achievement. They should have positive expectations, and they should have that expectation that they can be successful in classrooms. So, and it would be good to talk with your mentee about this as well. Okay, so we talked about the week of November 10th, the week of November 17th. So as always, the week of November 24th is talking about the reading. Now, in the first days of school, these pages are all about creating a culture for learning through positivity rather than negativity. And just like we talked about in the week of November 10th, and as well as in November as well as the week of November 17th, the goal is to be intentionally inviting with a professional attitude, dress appropriately and professionally, be prepared for students to learn every day, and have a growth mindset for yourself as well as for students. And that's what the pages really say. It's all about that shift to strategies to encourage positive expectations for students. So that's the first days of school. And then for the critical components book, it was chapter 4, and it was all about visual strategies. At the end of the day, most of us are visual learners, and that includes students in special education. And there are unlimited ways that you can use visual strategies. And really, they should be an integral part of the special education classroom. So the chapter is really has examples of visual strategies, as well as the encouragement that the visual strategies need to be really thought about and make sure that they match the needs of the student, that the visual strategies are right for the students. And again, those visual strategies provide information for the students so they can be successful in the special ed classroom. Just like positive expectations provide, give the roadmap for students to be successful in the general ed classroom, the visual strategies provide information so that special ed students can be successful in the special ed classroom. Okay, so I feel like I've been talking nonstop since we got going. I'm going to pause here and allow any questions for the month, because we've talked about the 3 weeks, and some recommended topics that you can bring up with your mentee. And I want to open the platform for questions if you have any. Okay, so it's crickets. I'm guessing there's no questions. Again, some of you, this is their second go around with the mentee, so this is not new information, and lots of the information is similar, if not identical, to what I've been presenting for the month of November. Okay, so the last thing is to check to make sure you have your November Foursquares. And there's also the November checklist, which is always good to show your mentee during the last week. Remember that the November checklist has resources for students. It has no, it doesn't have resources for students. It has resources for teachers as well as a checklist. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Oop, not that one. So there's that November checklist. And like I said before, it has the discretional reimbursement form. It has a sample. It has a checklist to find out what the late start and the snow day procedures are for your site. And there's some positive expectation resources. Okay. So hopefully you've had a chance to get back into your Google Drive. Make sure you have the 3 Foursquares for the month. They're orange this month. And then if you have those and you feel like you're ready to rock and roll for the month of November, just give me a thumbs up and feel free to log off for the night. All right. Thanks, Nicole. Thank you, Kelly. Good night. Thanks, Holly. Good night. Good night, Diane.